Today, we're falling into the abyss.
Hey Aficionados, Shawn and Miguel here, and today we're taking a look at a pretty legendary Imperial Stout, Deschutes the Abyss. This is an Imperial Stout with Blackstrap molasses, licorice, cherry bark, vanilla, and it's 6% aged in oak bourbon barrels, 11% aged in oak barrels, and 11% aged in wine barrels. It's 11.1% ABV. You want to read that little description there?
Yeah. Deschutes says it's dark, deep, mysterious. This Imperial Stout has immeasurable depth, inviting you to explore and discover its rich, complex profile. The flavor of this special brew draws you in further and further with each sip. The abyss beckons. Enjoy the journey.
This is the 2014 version of it. As you can see on the label there, it's got the 2014 stamp. And it says to enjoy after, or that it's best after 11/10/2015. So we're drinking it a little bit early, but we're really anxious to try this beer out. So let's go through the branding, the appearance, all that jazz, and then give a rating for this.
So for the branding here, we got the typical 22-ounce bottle design. It does have a wax coating over the top. So that is cool. I always like that touch for some reason. It feels very traditional.
Of course, it keeps air out too, which is really nice if you're going to be aging the bottle for a while, which they do recommend.
Yeah, and that also brings us to the best after date, which we mentioned. That's really helpful information, especially for people who intend to age their beer. So that's really cool that they have that. Other than that, there isn't really much going on the label here, but it's nice and minimalist. You do have a little crack going down the middle to show the abyss. It's
cute, but if it was something that you just saw at the store and you didn't know what it was, it wouldn't exactly attract your attention. So for the appearance on this one, dark as night, can't get any light to shine through it even though I'm holding it up to it. And it actually poured a pretty decent head on it. As you'd expect from a barrel-aged beer, you'd expect a little bit less of a head, but because it's only like 28% barrel-aged in total, it does have some life to it.
Yeah, in fact, it looks almost like a glass of Coca-Cola to me, which is really interesting. The foam at the top that lingers, it never really goes away, even after the head dissipated. It's still there. Like Shawn said, black as night, but it does have that like Coca-Cola-ish kind of character.
Would you say it looks like an abyss? It just might.
Just might.
So for the aroma on this one, the first thing I get is that licorice. It has a really nice like earthy, just like herbal quality to this beer.
Yeah, it's definitely not that candy licorice. It smells like an herbal licorice kind of flavor.
Definitely get some of that vanilla on the nose too. It's just like a really soft, sweet vanilla. And I get like tobacco, like fresh tobacco on the nose. I don't smell too much barrel-aged character. Maybe a little bit of like tannins or like the oak. And I kind of get some of that like chocolatey stout characteristic.
Yeah, more like a milk chocolatey though. It's not too much like a dark chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely herbal though. That's the major thing I'm pulling out of this one.
Mm-hmm. Cheers.
Cheers.
Really almost mild and light in flavor. Like, it's not a really heavy-handed stout. With some Imperial Stouts, especially like barrel-aged ones, you expect a really like rich hit of flavors, but it's kind of like soft in its character. You get more of that herbal, like licorice, earthy characteristic. I get some chocolate in there, but it's kind of like a milk chocolate, almost like a malted milkshake, something like that.
I would definitely say also it's not quite full-bodied. It's not
medium plus, I would say.
Yeah, definitely medium plus. It's not like a viscous kind of like you would expect from an aged Imperial.
I get that like cherry flavor from the cherry bark, like oaked cherry or something like that, or like woody cherry. I get a little bit of vanilla in it too, but I also get some like plums, maybe some raisins.
There's a little bit of bitterness on the back end. Feels like an herbal kind of bitterness. It has that very dry quality of like an herbal drink that uses like bark and other really earthy ingredients.
I do get some of the wine barrel. I don't get much of any of the other barrel characteristics. I don't get much bourbon barrel. But I do get like a light wine flavor. You kind of get like the tannins that you get in wines. A little bit of that fruitiness. I do get a little bit of oak. Kind of blends with that like cherry wood characteristic. And I almost get like a syrup-like sweetness from it. It does come off as a little bit more of a dry beer, especially for an Imperial Stout. And at 11.1% ABV, where's that alcohol? Because I'm not getting any of it. It doesn't come through in the flavor. It doesn't come through in the aroma. It's just really well hidden. It's just a really easy drinking Imperial Stout. So for my final thoughts on this beer, I'm going to give this one a 4.5 out of 5. I wish it had a little bit more barrel-aged character to it. It's hard for me to knock it. I mean, it is only like 20-something% barrel-aged in total, but just going into it, the great things I've heard about this beer, I did expect a little bit more from it, but it is a really complex beer. I really have to give it props for that. You could sit down with this one for hours just to pick out all the different little nuances to it. It's a beer that really grows on you, and I mentioned it before when we were talking about the taste. It just really hides all that ABV perfectly in the flavor, and again, it's just a really complex sipper.
I totally agree. For a score, I'm going to give it a 4.5 as well. As an herbal liqueur guy, this is almost kind of like a dream beer for me. All these different ingredients that it has in it and the way it mixes it so expertly. It's a perfect sipper, incredibly complex. There's a lot of different layers to the flavor that are a ton of fun to pick apart. This is definitely a beer that earns its name, The Abyss. Very deep, very mysterious. And there's a lot going on in here. Definitely very highly recommended, especially if you like herbal drinks at all or herbal liqueurs like I do. This is a must try.
Have any of you guys tried Abyss? What do you think of it? Is it one of your favorite Imperial Stouts? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, whether it's liqueurs, movies, games, or beer,
If you're looking for reviews, you can find them right here.
thanks for watching. Until next time.
It's a half step.
What's that?
It's the smallest interval between two notes.
Or are you going to do it faster?
Oh.
You're gonna do it faster.
If you play them at the same time, it sounds horrific.
Oh, it does.